So if you're really searching for what it is you think you want to do, look at who out there does it and what groups might do it and join those groups. And what's the worst that can happen? You find out you don't want to do it, but then you at least know what they do and how they do it. But I think networking, Elle, and aligning yourself with people, getting a good mentor, and sometimes I think finding out something isn't right is a gift because then you go to the next step and you find out what might be right. So the worst that can happen, you find out it's not for you, that's okay. Then you find out what might be right.
There are opportunities for our work and careers everywhere, if you know where to look. That's easier said than done, especially in our fast-paced and constantly changing world. Marianne Fairmouth is talking to experts, employers, and job seekers to bring you insight and understanding about what's possible. This is Career Can Do, where we're navigating the new work world.
Welcome to the Career Can Do podcast, a top global podcast dedicated to helping you navigate the new work world. My name is Marianne Fairmouth, and today I have the privilege of being interviewed by someone I have the highest admiration and respect for. Elle Ballard is the founder and executive director of Women of the World Network. I've known Elle for many, many years and wanted to have her on the show today because some of the things we talk about in this podcast, I think, are really good tips for all of us looking to make some new goals for the coming year and learn how we can be our best self. So without further ado, help me welcome Elle Ballard. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elle Ballard, and we are on the Empowered Global Women in Business podcast with my special friend from Houston, Marianne. Hi, Marianne. Welcome.
Hi, Elle. It's great to be here.
Great to see you, my friend. Let me introduce you really quickly before we jump into our conversation today. Marianne Fairmouth is a multiple award-winning and nominated author, syndicated columnist, regular on the nationally syndicated Price of Business show, professional speaker, and CEO of a national recruiting firm. She also owns and hosts the Career Can Do podcast. She was recently named one of Houston's 50 most influential women. How amazing. Congratulations, Marianne.
Thank you, Elle. Thank you. I really am happy to know you and be here. This is great. Thank you.
Great to have you. And congratulations with everything you do, with the work you do out there. Beautiful. I know you write a lot and you have your podcast as well. So I want to jump into this question of what made you start writing in the first place? How did you come to start writing?
Well, it's interesting, Elle. Writing was really a healing exercise for me. In the period of 3 years, I lost 5 people. I lost my mother, my husband, my father, and my 2 best girlfriends. And I was dating a guy at the time, and he said, why don't you take a writing for healing class? Writing can help you really process all the grief. So I set up my computer on a Saturday, and I typed in writing for healing, and I found this class on a Sunday. So I went. And after the class, the professor, Max Reagan, who's my writing coach, said, why did you come and what do you do? And I told him the situation. And he said, I think you have the makings of a book. My sweet husband was in the wrong job. And I tried to pull him out, and he wouldn't leave his dad. He worked for his dad. So after he died, I figured, well, he's gone. I can't help him. But how many others can I help to never get to the point he did? So I developed a 5-step method. I got a patent and trademark on it. And I wrote my first book. And that first book came out in 2017. And it's won 5 awards. So I guess the moral of the story is sometimes, Elle, we need to take the things that happen to us and turn them into the lessons we learn to help others. I know you do that. And that's what got me started to write.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. That's beautiful. So I know you got the book. You have the recently published book that I want to talk about. And you also had Dale Carnegie, CEO of Dale Carnegie, write you a forward. So how did that happen? Tell us, please.
Well, I speak at a lot of conferences, and I was at a conference and I heard the CEO of Dale Carnegie of Texas speak, David Wright. And I went up to him afterwards. He was speaking about the generational differences. And I went up to him and I said, your speech is so right on. It is really great. Will you come and be a guest on my podcast show? And he said, yes. So he came on my podcast show. It was great. It went out. And it reminds me of something that I learned from Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar said, never tell yourself no, N-O, because you don't know, KNOW, what could come of it. So I thought, I need somebody to write my forward. I'm not going to tell myself no. Well, he's this big guy, but I'm going to ask him, what's the worst that can happen? He won't do it. So I asked him, and he said, let me read the manuscript. So I sent him the manuscript. He had it for 3 weeks. I thought, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. Sure enough, he called me back. He said, I'm going to do it. So I guess what it is that a lot of the principles in the How to Influence and Influence People in Dale Carnegie, it's about lessons we learn. It's about helping others. It's about moving forward in your life. And Revolutionary Results, my third book, was written during COVID, which, as we talked about in the Blue Room, gave us all time to reflect, to analyze, to think about what's important to us. So this last book has different kind of stories from my life that talk about lessons that demonstrate that. So that's what got me to get David to write my forward. And writing the book was, again, something that was a compilation of what I did as a syndicated columnist for the Price of Business show. And I put all those articles, expanded them some, and put them in a book.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. Congratulations on that. And on
Thank
the creativity and on really just, this is just goes to show, why don't we ask? We make assumptions that something might not happen, or, they're already so busy or whatever it is, right? This is just goes to show, just ask. I love that story. Thank you for sharing. So I want to talk about your podcast, Career Can Do. And I know you're helping so many individuals. I know we collaborated at some point as well, find really what they are destined to do, right? And through this Career Can Do podcast, you also help others. And I know you've got some amazing results with it, and it has risen to be a top global podcast in only a couple of years now. I know some of our listeners have their own podcast as well. If you could share on that journey with that, what helped you to become one of the top global podcasts?
Well, I think that I try to analyze who are my listeners and what do they want to know and what information could help them become better. And my listeners for Career Can Do are employers, employees, or candidates looking for a job, and recruiters. So right now I call it the new work world, because post-COVID, now everything's changed. So I try to get people on my show that are professionals that are going to help people. And, I'm what you call a holistic recruiter, which that means I don't just take a resume and a job description and slap them together. I try to understand, who are you? What's important to you? What do you want to do with your life? All right. And so I get people on the show that address issues that are important to my listening audience. And quite frankly, whether we live in the United States, whether we live in Australia or France or Malta or whatever it is, in so many ways, we all have similar aspirations and goals. And so I get people on the show that I think will give our listeners information that will help them. And I think that's what has helped my podcast become a top global podcast.
Yeah, so important, right? To know that when that connect happens, then it's not really an effort anymore, because it's just flow, because you're doing what you're best at. And that matches with people who are looking for that information.
And I think you and I are kind of evidence or stories of people that give back. Elle and I met many years ago. We were both chairs of a speech contest for Toastmasters. And we were both nervous as wrecks, scared to death. This was a huge contest, and it was at a big, big place. It was a very famous place, Comcast. And we worked together to put this contest together. And I think having us work together, we had a special bond. But I think the common denominator of what we did was we gave back. We were helping others. We put something together to help others. And I think that experience and meeting her at that contest kind of made us become lifelong friends, because we felt we had something in common. But I think what I'm trying to say, Alice, what you do and what I do, is we both have efforts and do our businesses in a way that, yes, we're businesswomen. Yes, we're productive. Yes, we have to make a living. But at the same time, we do what we do to help others and to give back. And I think that's why we've done so many things together, and maybe why we love what we do, because it's in alignment with who we are. Don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. And I think that helps us just keep going, because we know we are in alignment. Yesterday I was putting this is the end of the year and thinking forward and making plans. It just gets me so excited every time I do it, because that's exactly the reason why, because I am in alignment. I cannot imagine doing anything else. And once I found that, things shifted. And of course, there are obstacles still, there are challenges still. It's not without it, but I think it just makes such a difference when we know that we are doing the work we're supposed to be doing.
What a wonderful role model you are. Here's a woman that came
Thank
to the
you.
United States from a different country. She worked in corporate America for many years, but then she wanted to do something on her own globally. So she started Women of the World. So I love being a part of whatever Elle does because she walks her talk. She is who she says she is. And I think for some of our listeners out there now, if you're sitting thinking, I'm not sure I'm in the right job, I'm not sure I'm on the right path. Sometimes we have to take a chance. We have to take a risk. Now we want it to be calculated. We don't want to do anything haphazardly. But I think that, again, belonging to organizations like we do, like I do with Women of the World, I think has helped me meet so many wonderful people and expanded my platform and business.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you. And speaking about alignment, right? What advice would you give to those who are looking to find or do a meaningful work that matches their purpose, so that matches who they are? I know a lot of people are searching for that purpose, that meaning. They want to find meaning in everyday work that they do.
I would say identify what you think is important to you. And I say what you think because it can change. What you think is important to you, and then join groups of people that represent those qualities. All right. Funny story. I had to give a huge speech in San Diego at the Del Coronado in 2016. And I was scared to death because the job market was down. And my son was working for a company, and his boss was a distinguished Toastmaster. And he said it was my mother's so nervous. She has to give this big speech. And Marcus, he said, tell her to join Toastmasters. I'll help her. So I did. And it was wonderful. I went, they helped me write the speech. I gave an amazing speech. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I aligned myself with people that could help me with what I wanted to do going forward. And I love to public speak. All right. So if you're really searching for what it is you think you want to do, look at who out there does it and what groups might do it and join those groups. And what's the worst that can happen? You find out you don't want to do it, but then you at least know what they do and how they do it. But I think networking, Elle, and aligning yourself with people, getting a good mentor. And sometimes I think finding out something isn't right is a gift because then you go to the next step and you find out what might be right. So the worst that can happen, you find out it's not for you. That's okay. Then you find out what might be right. So I would say get a mentor, join groups, continue to network, and that'll help you on your path.
Great advice. What a great advice. Yeah. I completely agree. It's just so important to surround yourself with people who are going similar places or maybe have gone a little bit farther than you, right? Because it's just a different level. And so we start thinking that way. We learn. It's just so important. We just celebrated Women Entrepreneurs on November 19th. And I was sharing in a short video how I just love being surrounded by women entrepreneurs in my life. Just they go in places, they're doing things. It's on what you said, surrounding yourself with the people doing the things, or if speaking, if you know what you're looking for, right? The speaking, that in your experience, speaking skills that you needed. It was a similar experience for me as well. That's how I started the Toastmasters journey as well. And yeah, it was great. Beautiful, wonderful people like yourself.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just immediately, when I met Al, I felt like we connected. But, I really was a deviant in my family in a lot of ways. I mean, I come from a close Italian Maltese family. Nobody leaves the family. It's just not done. All right. Unless you go to school somewhere else or, whatever. But I mean, to take a big risk. I mean, I was with Ford Motor Company for 5 years. I had a big job. I was on a fast track and I took a huge risk. All right. But sometimes, you have to do that to find your way. And, like I said, if you failure is not the worst thing. Sometimes failure is a blessing because you realize this isn't the right thing for me to do, but I tried it. So you don't go through your whole life saying, what if? I think that's the hardest thing. I met, God bless a good friend of mine was dying of cancer. And he said on his final days, he wished he would have done this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, I don't know that I could ever say that because I've done it. And you don't want to go through life like that, don't you think, Elle?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. And I think that also part of the alignment, if there is a wish in us, we have to go and make it happen, whatever that is. Or we have to find the time. Because I think when we want something, that something attracts us or pulls us as well. It's not out of the blue. It's not because we didn't know or whatever. I think it's just the true supposed to be. I want to ask you really briefly, really quickly, as a woman building a business all these years for yourself and by yourself, what does it mean for you to be building a business as a woman on your own terms?
Well, I can't say it hasn't been scary because it has, but I think that it made me realize who I am, what qualities I have, and how I could help others. And I think there's a freedom, there's a evolution of self that comes from that. And I'm not going to say there hasn't been some tough times because there have been, and there's been some scary times. But I think through it all, I learned who I was. I learned what my strengths were, what my strengths could more even become. And I think the journey along the way, who said it? Sometimes, Elle, it's not the destination, but it's the journey. And the people I've met, you being one of them through this journey, have been wonderful. If I would have not done what I've done and made this big change and had my own business for all these years, I wouldn't have met some of these great people that have helped me in a lot of ways become the person that I am. So I would just say that, for me anyway, it's write down what you think you want to do and then think about how you can accomplish it. It doesn't have to be done tomorrow or this week or even this year. But for me, I write goals down every day. Every single day I have a goal list. Okay. If you don't plan, if you fail to plan to fail. So sometimes it's a matter of writing it down and then putting a date by it and then trying to see it. And if you don't accomplish it, at least you've tried. You can't say I didn't try.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to really also talk about the book that recently published book. Can you share with us how our listeners, our viewers, if it's on YouTube, can find the book copy? And can you give us a high level overview of it? Like, what is the book about? What is the name? And
my third book is called Revolutionary Results. And I dedicated the book to my two sons and my granddaughter because I believe they are an example of wonderful results. My sons lost their dad at a very young age. They've worked very hard. They're very accomplished. But in addition to being accomplished as professionals, they're wonderful human beings. So I dedicated the book to them and my granddaughter. The book is, as I said earlier, it's a compilation of articles I write for the USA Daily Post and Times every week, and I've expanded those articles. But they're articles that are not just about finding a job. They're articles about finding a life. And the experiences I've had, I talk about baseball. My sweet husband, before he died, we had seats behind home plate. My kids used to love to go to the Astros game. So I make analogies. The book's a lot about metaphors and the lessons in life we can learn, whether it's about going to a baseball game, whether it's about watching my grandmother make her famous homemade ravioli, which is about, recipes for success. I think I wrote an article for you.
You did, yes.
A book about that. It's a variety of different stories in there. But at the end of each story, you come away with a lesson. What did I learn reading this? And what did Marianne experience with what she's written about? And so I believe, Elle, that everything in life is connected. It's not the jobs over here, the work's over here, the friendships are over here. It's all connected. And so these stories give examples of that. So I think the book is one, it's very inspirational, but it's also a book that gives you examples of things I've been through and what I've learned from them and how you can apply those to your life and hopefully expand your experiences in a more positive way. You can find the book on Amazon. I'm self-published, and also information about it is on my website, fairmouth.com.
Beautiful. Thank you. Congratulations on your next book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And we'll post links how to connect with Marianne as well. So definitely connect with her. And I want to take us to the final section of our conversation, rapid fire questions. And if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Awesome. Your favorite book name?
I would say Secret Life of Bees.
Beach or mountains?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think mountains.
Favorite international destination? to visit?
Malta, where my dad's from. And I just saw something. It was rated the number one destination in Europe for beaches.
Should do a retreat in Malta. I want to visit Malta. Summer or winter?
Summer. I don't like the snow, Elle. Summer.
Yeah, me too. Okay, and the final question is, what have you found about yourself recently?
I have found that it's important for me to continue learning, to never stop learning. That's really important to me. And I think one of the ways I find that's really fun for me to do that is through travel. I love to travel. And when I travel, I learn things that I might have not learned any other way. So whether it's history, whether it's about the people, the food, the cultures, the challenges they've overcome. So I would say for me overall, it's to continue to learn. And the way for me to do that I really love and enjoy is travel.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you for playing. Thank you for being on our podcast, taking the time for this conversation, my friend. Always great to see you. Any closing thoughts before we close?
Well, I have to say, we talked about this in the Blue Room. I think if I had to summarize advice I would give to people, I think it would be, there's a favorite song I have, and it really would encapsulate everything I would want to say. And it's called What a Feeling. It's by Irene Cara from the movie Flashdance. And the line in this song really is about who I am. And it says, take your passion and make it happen. And I think overall in life, if we do that, you can't go wrong. No matter what happens along the way. Again, it's the journey, not the destination. But try to take your passion and make it happen and align yourself with groups like Women of the World and Toastmasters and networking groups to help you get to that destination. But the people you're going to meet along the way, top notch.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marianne, for being on our podcast today. Thank you for sharing. And I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
You too? Okay. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
We thank you for tuning in to our Career Can Do podcast. We make no guarantees on results for your particular quest, but we hope you enjoy the information presented. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely that of the guest or speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Marianne Fairmouth and Fairmouth and Company. Thank you.